New research has shown that teaching high school students about breast, cervical and prostate cancers is an effective pathway towards prevention. The findings prompting Nigeria to pass a new law, making the new teachings part of the compulsory civic education subject at senior school level. Associate Professor Chris Ifediora from the Griffith School of Medicine and Dentistry joins us now. Chris, welcome. It's great to have you with us. Tell us about this research and your findings.
Thanks for having me on this show, Ariel. Yes, it's in our view a very exciting finding because it brings to be a new and insightful project that can reach out to many youngsters at the very age where they are quite vulnerable to teaching, adaptable to teaching. In our view, it could be the game changer in the fight against cervical cancers, particularly. Because what we found was that engaging these youngsters, teenagers, mainly in high schools, could be a very effective way of tackling cervical cancer and breast cancer to some extent. So what we found was that if we include this project into the curriculum of these high schools, particularly with engagement measures that ensure that they stay engaged to this project, that the knowledge is sustained over time, and that they learn the basics of what they need to do to prevent cancers, and most importantly in developing parts of the world, where there are no real effective measures in place at a universal level to tackle these cancers. So it empowers them at a young age where we know they're going to be the future of tomorrow, where they can, it's a big adjunct to the fight against breast and cervical cancers.
Were you expecting Nigeria to make this a compulsory part of teaching?
Well, when we started like every other NGO, because I don't know if you're aware, we run an NGO in Nigeria, also here in Australia. But we still like everyone else, just to kind of enlighten the people. But my training during my times in Harvard and the University of Liverpool taught me to always evaluate whatever we do. And that was basically what we did. So we found out that even though these programs at the onset sounded very good, 6 months down the line, most of these people forget everything they are taught. So it's basically, in the long run, useless. So that prompted us to find a better way to do it, a sustainable way to do it, and something that's equally cost effective. So that's what led us into this bigger research. So when it came through, no, we didn't, because the government was not really from outset part of it. But the project and the findings were quite insightful that we had to approach the lawmakers, and they easily bought into it, and it flew through the legislation. So quite exciting.
Very exciting, and congratulations on that. What a huge step. Chris, in your view and from your research, what is it that makes this such an effective preventative measure?
All right, just to put it in context with kind of real life, what we find in real life. The world, WHO and the rest of the developing world, they are the quest to eliminate cervical cancer. All right, and a country like Australia by 2035 will actually achieve that if they continue on the trajectory. And same with the other developed world. But the problem is the rest of the developing world is not catching up with this. And I don't see how it's going to happen. How are you going to eliminate cervical cancer if more than half of the world's population do not match these kind of expectations? And part of the problem is, in these countries, there's no universal screening programs because the governments cannot afford it. In Nigeria, in September, good news, they will start the vaccinations, which has been in Australia for more than 10 years. All right. So these things drag back this whole push to eliminate cervical cancer. So there has to be a better way of doing it, a more sustainable way, particularly in these parts of the world. So this project offers that pathway. A country like Nigeria, you have about 3/4 of the population going through high schools. That's 72 to 75%. Now, putting this in the curriculum means that essentially all of these people are empowered, and particularly with the engagement measures. So what you find is you have a population who is ready to catch into the vaccinations when they get introduced. You have a population who are ready to get onto the screenings when it's available. You get a population who will be the leaders of tomorrow, who will be ready to kind of push through the policies required, to make this go through. These are going to be the mothers of tomorrow, the fathers of tomorrow. So it's basically kind of the impact in our view will be huge. And it also brings the developing world at par to some extent to most of what's happening in the developed world.
OCI Foundation International, we rise by lifting others.